Welcome back to Series 3 of the Lisbon Sessions. In this episode, David Russell speaks with Werner Gruner.
Hi, morning everybody. Welcome to another edition of Lisbon Sessions Season 3. The gimbal, as always, is testing my arm strength now, playing up. I'm having to hold it at a very peculiar angle as I'm joined once again by the living legend who is Werner Gruner of Golden Visa. Werner, welcome back. A veteran, shall I say, of the Golden Visa and the Sessions.
Thank you, David, for having me once again. It's always good to be called an old fox, but I will take it as a compliment.
We're wandering in the beautiful Estrella, or Star Park in English, Estrella Park, as the gardeners are organising and making everything look fabulous. Werner, it's been a few months since we last wandered around the Praça do Comércio. Lot of discussion. First of all, I want your opinions. First of all, there's a lot of things, as we know, it's a bit of a political football. A lot of talk, and it's now being kicked down to Parliament, I think into January potentially for discussion. Citizenship, residency. If you invest 500,000 for 5 years in a qualifying fund or funds, you get Portuguese residency. At the moment, there's discussion of citizenship extending. What is the difference? What do you get with citizenship that you don't get with residency? Is it that big of a deal?
Well, first of all, and before going into that question or that topic, we need to understand why this is being discussed right now, and why it is a hot topic in terms of Portugal. First of all, we need to understand the political environment. Right? So for the last 50 years, so Portugal has a democracy since 1974 for the last 50 years. Before that, we had a dictatorship under the Salazar regime. But for the last 50 years of our democracy, there has been always two political parties that were ruling the country. Either the Socialist Party or the Social Democratic Party. Both parties are very similar. Are, I would say, center parties.
Okay.
I would say that 80% is the same. In case of the socialists, is center 80%, 20% to the left. And in the case of the Social Democrats, is also 80% center and 20%.
It's similar to
the
the UK.
Okay,
It's
so
pretty marginal.
very similar parties. The Socialist Party is normally a little bit more concerned on social policies. The Social Democrats a little bit more business oriented. But the core is the same.
Yeah.
Now, the main reason why this is a topic is that we had recent elections, as you know, on the 18th of May, and now we have three big parties. For the first time in our democracy history, we came from a two-system party to a three-system party. So there is a right populist party called Chega. By the way, Chega in Portuguese, the translation is enough. So the name of the party,
I think we can understand what they are.
Is enough. And basically, there were one of their big flagship was complaining about unqualified immigration. Okay, and this is now. I'm not saying that they are right or wrong, but let's look at numbers.
Yep.
Okay. Now, numbers. So Portugal, for the last 8 years, was ruled by the Socialist Party, and they had what was called an open door immigration policy in order to boost the economy. Okay, so it was quite easy to immigrate to Portugal. This has a cause that, just to give you share with you some numbers, that around 2017 there were slightly over 400,000 foreigners living in Portugal.
Okay.
And 8 years later, in 2024, this number raised to 1.5 million people. Okay,
that's a lot.
Which is, in a short period of time, 3.5 times more. And this is why this party, right populist party, went very strongly into parliament. And basically the three parties have around 77% of the votes.
Okay.
We have 10 parties at parliament, but these three parties represent 77% of the votes or 90% of the seats at
Right.
parliament.
Okay.
And even this party, this right populist party, is now number 2 at parliament. It passed the socialist party.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
So and the reason is because in the last years we have seen some issues on housing because of this increase of immigration, also due to lack of construction,
Right.
in healthcare, pressure in hospitals, also in education. In many public schools, suddenly teachers have 10 different nationalities
Understood.
in a classroom. So all of this gain a lot of momentum in the market.
Yep.
Okay, so this is why this right party
Has had a large surge.
had a boost in the last elections. Now the government, we cannot because all of this is political playground
Of course.
for all political parties. The Social Democrats that are now in power, they wanted to take arguments from this right populist party, and this is why they addressed the topic before the others were addressing it heavily. And this is why they mentioned that they wanted to increase the citizenship law,
The requirements,
from 5 to 10 years.
Okay.
Okay.
So they're sort of commingling things.
It's basically
it's getting mixed up in another
to
argument.
corner the right populist party out of arguments. They took the arguments and put it out there. Now, the issue is that a lot of water will still pass under the bridge because it was supposed. So they announced this measure or this intention, correctly said, intention, at the end of June, beginning of July. But then the parliament closed on the 15th of July because politicians work a lot and they needed 1.5 months holidays. So the parliament just reopened now in the beginning of September. Now, they are, on top of that, they were supposed to start discussing it right now. We already heard that is going to be postponed to October. And this was already anticipated.
Right.
Why? Because now they are going to discuss the country budget in October to approve the country's budgets for next year. And on the 12th of October, we have elections for the city hall. So they don't want any negative news that might affect their local candidates. And this is why they are not going to discuss it for sure until the 12th of October. Okay. So, having said that, this has caused some uncertainty in the market for Golden Visa investors, but then we should look at what is going on. Now, until today, that is still today because this is still an intention.
Yep.
The program is a 5-year program. Okay, so after 5 years, an investor can decide, a family can decide if they go to citizenship, to passport, or to permanent residency. Okay, the majority of the investors or families, they prefer to go to citizenship to have an additional passport that gives them flexibility, mobility in the future, especially for the kids if they want to work or live or study in Europe. Okay. Now, of course, there were many nationals that went for permanent residency. Nationals from countries that don't allow dual citizenship, like China or India or Japan. So they prefer to go to permanent residency. Now, if there is a law change for the citizenship, then it changes the citizenship law, but it does not change the residency law.
Understood.
Okay, the residency law. So what could happen is that the Golden Visa program could become a 2-step program. Okay. What do I mean is that after 5 years, all families would go for permanent residency. Some of them would only want to do that anyway, like the Chinese or the
Of
Indians,
course,
as I
yeah,
explained.
that sort of demographic.
Then you get the permanent residency. After the permanent residency is considered, you may sell your assets, either if it is real estate that you bought in the past,
Yep.
either if it is a fund investment or fund investments, and then you will wait for 1 or 2 or 5 more years, depending what is
Yes.
going to be approved, if something, to apply for citizenship. So probably if something happens, this will become a 2-step program.
Understood. And do
Okay.
you think, Werner, I mean, again, this is all speculation, guys, at this point in time, but do you think an investor would be required to remain invested for a following 5 years, or do you think it would simply be a time served situation whereby they might be able to withdraw their monies after 5 years, but just kind of wait the course for the further citizenship? What do you think?
Well, David, as you always know what I say, I'm not a lawyer because I have sense of humor, so I cannot qualify as a lawyer. But and whenever you ask 2 law firms an opinion, you get 3 opinions. You know.
Yeah,
No,
it's
but
difficult.
I think that is the majority of, I would say, reputable immigration law firms. They all agree that after you be considered the permanent residency,
Mm-hmm.
okay, you may sell your assets.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
So this would give. So this would not change.
Well, I mean, that is significant for people to have assets tied up or not tied up.
Correct.
You know, it's
correct.
$500,000.
The only thing is that we cannot also forget that until 2018, the path for citizenship was 6 years. Okay.
Yeah.
So in 18, they reduced from 6 to 5. Now, if now they go up to 6 again,
Yep.
or to 7, or to 10, okay, it's not the ideal scenario,
Mm-hmm.
but it still makes the Portuguese program still the most interesting golden visa program because of the minimum stay requirements.
That's huge.
You know.
Yeah.
So I would say that even if something changes, Portugal Golden Visa program still is the most interesting program in the market.
And Werner, in terms of, you've mentioned obviously the rise of Chega, a political party that is much more opposed to open borders immigration. Obviously their voice in Parliament, but across the political spectrum with the 3 main parties, in general, yes, there may be a few tweaks and a few arm wrestles over a few areas, but do you see the golden visa running long term? They're all proponents of it. I mean, I've heard that there's going to be 2 billion, over the last sort of 18 months coming into golden visa funds. I mean, that's something that surely no political party would want to turn the tap sort of off on. What do you think?
This is a good question. Now, we need to, first of all, nobody's against golden visa investors. Okay. So what is going on right now is because of exponential increase, as I mentioned, of unqualified immigration.
Okay.
Which is causing pressure in housing, in healthcare, in education, and as you know, 99% of golden visa investors, they are not moving to Portugal. Okay?
No, exactly.
It is a very small percentage. In terms of the political parties, I would say that, first of all, the Social Democrats that are now in government, they are the ones that created the program back at the end of 2012.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it's their
baby.
They are the fathers or the mothers of the program. So they were always in favor of the program. In fact, one of the ministers, before they announced these potential changes, gave an interview on Bloomberg saying that no, we are very in favor of the program, and we even would consider to bringing again a real estate option in the future eventually. So they are very in favor. Now we go back to the Socialist Party. The Socialist Party, they are also in favor of it. They did some changes in October 23, just because by then you already had a housing problem. This is why they took the real estate component
as the qualifying asset
out of the Golden Visa, but they are in favor. And Chega, the right populist party, they were back in 23 completely in favor of the Portugal Golden Visa program. So I don't see, in terms of the three parties, they are aligned with the Golden Visa.
I understand.
And you have to look also at numbers. The program, since its inception in October 2012, it brought over 9 billion euros of direct investment to Portugal. I'm not even counting with indirect investment like taxes, when investors came here to spend time in hotels, in spending money in restaurants, in rental cars, in sightseeing. Okay, so this is a huge investment that boosted Portuguese economy throughout the years. Now we have to understand that political parties are political parties all over the world, you know. And sometimes the common sense or logic doesn't apply on the immediate decisions or comments.
Well, I think it's time for a pastel de nata and a double espresso. Guys, if you could not get a better summary right now than Werner's just given of the exact situation and what's going on. The Golden Visa's here to stay, but watch out for the legal changes and those potential tweaks to the citizenship rules going forward. But don't be afraid. Golden Visa investors are very much welcome in Portugal.
For sure.
The whole political debate concerns a whole other situation entirely. Werner, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for appearing. We'll see Werner again, no doubt, in season 4 or 5. Thanks so much for watching, guys.
Bye-bye.